Franklin County Commissioners meeting, March 20th, 2018.
Ready? Good morning. It is 9 a.m. on Tuesday, March 20th, 2018, and this is the regular weekly board meeting of the Franklin County Board of Commissioners. All three commissioners are here, as is County Administrator Mr. Johnson. As is the custom these days, we will start by calling the meeting to order and the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Okay, first agenda item is approval of a public works contract between Franklin County and the Home Builders Association of the Tri-Cities. I see Mr. French, the track manager, is here. Tom, thanks for joining us.
Morning.
This has been through a number of iterations, and I'm sure that all the commissioners will have questions. For my part, as you go through, I'd appreciate it if you clarify that our legal people have done their final reviews and pose no objections to what we're looking at today, and then maybe highlight any changes since the last version.
I might just interject one brief change on the ASR. There's a transpose number at the top of that where it says there's fiscal impact. The last phrase there, total reduction is 44,000 per year. That should be 40,000 per year.
Where's this at?
It's the top of the agenda summary report.
Oh, okay.
It's where it discusses the fiscal impact. It's
Okay.
rate of change in there.
Okay, it's 40,000, not 44.
Correct.
Okay.
You'll see that on page 15 and 33 in the actual contract. Where that comes from.
Any other changes to the contract itself since last time it was before the board? I think you had.
Since the last time it was before the board, there was a change to some language that had been included in earlier draft regarding copy service. We felt was not critical to getting this major piece of the agreement put together, so that language was taken out. And Tom has worked that out with Mr. Wilson and the other association to do that under a separate agreement. I think that's the only significant or material change.
Well, it was changed from forever
To
3 years.
to 3 years.
Yes.
When the coffee's gone.
And after the initial period, then it recessed to be adjusted by the CPI.
Yeah.
Correct, when the coffee's not in there.
Copy is gone. Yes.
And Commissioner, to answer to the questions you asked, this has been reviewed by our legal department, and no issues have been brought to my attention regarding the contract.
So have they actually initialed off on the contract? Form of contract pre-approved March 2014 by Franklin County Prosecutor's Office. So that's obviously an old date. Any idea what that's about? The last page
That's
of
their
the contract.
standard public works contract language, but they have reviewed it since then. They've reviewed the
Specific agreement, okay, and they're not indicating any legal issues or concerns?
No.
Okay. And that 3-year period starts at the end of the 10-year payoff or the end of the payoff whenever it is? So if we pay this off in 3 years, then the 3-year period would start after that?
Correct.
That is
right. Okay. My sense is that the 3-year period probably wasn't even necessary because it's essentially already a 10-year window. Okay, for those folks that are listening and might pick this up in the future in the recording, this is an agreement between the county and the Home Builders Association of Tri-Cities, wherein the home builders will front the costs of, or pay the costs of putting concrete in the arena at track, and in return, the county will reimburse them over a span of several years through the function of reduced rent. That's the mutual benefit of the county not having to come up with the capital up front. That's a benefit to us, and the benefit to the home builders, among other things, is that this effectively holds their rental cost at the current rate while this is being paid off, and then for 3 years after that. And then an additional benefit to the county is that we lock in home builders for an extended period of time as a client, which isn't a guarantee when there are other facilities that could accommodate their annual home show. So there's clearly benefit on both sides. There's clearly eligible parties. Anybody else has any comments they want to add, now would be a good time to do that. Not hearing anything, I'm going to assume that there's no concerns, that all the questions have been answered.
I had my questions answered this morning.
Sure.
We have spoke many times on this, and some of the things that I still entirely believe that we need to have some kind of arena out there, and we have stated that we will have one. And have you found any other opportunities for that?
I have. So to say that we're going to have an arena is a little misleading. We have an arena currently.
Okay.
And I just had a meeting with the city of Pasco.
You have an arena?
Outside,
Yeah.
an outdoor
Okay.
arena
Okay.
that is currently there. And there is some interest from different local groups to utilize that. It'd be on a smaller scale than what would be used with an indoor arena. But there is some interest. There's some open riding interest, some sort of like FFA, 4-H type shows interest. So the interest is there. It's on a much smaller scale, which is really very conducive to that type of outdoor arena.
Do you feel, I think we've had some of the discussions you and I have, but the inside arena, now if we cement that, do you feel that that is stable, that we won't have to do a lot of renovation to make this compatible to what you want, what we want if this contract is approved?
I do not believe so.
You don't know?
I do not.
You don't know if that's going to be more work on it. I mean, there is, like we start talking about the flag, but there's other things that may not.
Well, sure, there's other things, but it's really, whether it's dirt or concrete, as you're trying to manage a building, things have to be updated and repaired. So putting the concrete down, from all early indications, is just going to lead to increased revenue, which is going to make some of those upgrades and things that need to be fixed more possible.
Well, I support the idea of saving money and to make something different, but I sure am against removing that, probably one of the finest arenas in the country, where I would prefer that we sold the land and built another pavilion or a expo or something. Of course, the money seems to be the problem there. I would try and do something different myself, but seems like we've been working on this for quite a while.
Well, we've talked, Tom, about making improvements to the outdoor arena over time, cover, lights, those kinds of things. It's not going to be indoor heated and cooled, but practically speaking, the indoor arena isn't heated and cooled much anyway. It's pretty much ambient temperature because of cost. So with the exception of a driving rain or a lot of wind, the temperature of the outdoor isn't going to be significantly different. But covering it and adding lights and maybe orienting it north-south to make it bigger, those seem like reasonable improvements that I would certainly support. So with respect to Mr. Miller's concerns, hopefully that addresses some of those, because I do think an arena is value added, and I do think that having it outdoor like that where it doesn't tie up the building probably is going to make it available to a larger number of people at very little cost, which is the big roadblock right now for people to use it, is the cost of going and tying up the whole building. To have an outdoor arena with a cover and lights that you have a regular scheduled evening ride or Saturdays or just whenever it is, where people can just simply show up and ride, I would see that as a benefit that we don't currently offer. And it's good that we try and accommodate those interests to the extent that we can.
And my hope is that this outdoor arena will be able to be better utilized by youth groups that currently cannot come into that large indoor arena and afford that. So,
Right.
So the outdoor arena hopefully will open the door to a lot of the community's youth groups.
The irony actually is that concreting the indoor arena might actually make riding space more available at lower cost.
Correct.
Because it drives improvements to the outdoor arena.
Correct.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. Anybody else?
Chairman, with that, I would move for approval of Public Works contract between Franklin County and Home Builders Association of Tri-Cities.
Is there a second to the motion?
I can support this, but I'm not going to make a motion, or I'm not going to second it. I can support the idea that if we as commissioners are going to suggest this. It's not been my idea for quite a while on this.
So I want to be sure I understand what you're saying, Mr. Miller. You're not able to second, but you intend to support?
Yes. We need to make a change, but I'm thinking of different ways, and this just isn't my, we've talked about it so much, though, so I can support it.
Okay, well, then I will second the motion. And, any other comments or questions that anyone wants to bring to the table? Mr. Miller, you clearly have some objections. I want to be sure that we give you ample time to put any comments you wish into the record.
I just really want to make sure we get an outdoor arena. I just see this something that could be falling apart soon. We still got those home lots right beside that complain quite a bit. Hopefully we can maybe sell that to somebody else or do something eventually and not have that problem either. I'm talking about the RV park. And just some of those issues that I can see with the outdoor that we've got to clear up. And I want to make sure that it is stated that's the way we're going to go. And
Yes, I can tell you right now that the outdoor arena is a viable solution that will be utilized.
okay.
And it doesn't have to be built. There's currently 4 light poles out there. It's lighted. It's really about us going out and restructuring and probably fortifying the perimeter fence of that outdoor arena. It's there. Someone could ride a horse in it today. It's just us making it available to the community, which currently hasn't been, just because of the way it's been used and historically. So I can tell you, as I said here right now today, it will be made available to the community. We've done polls through WSU Extension Office. I have a meeting with a local horse group. I'm not exactly sure what they call their style of horse riding, but it's in the works and being diligently worked on.
Good. And now what about insurance and those things? I know there's some for the free riding that we couldn't cover the insurance.
Correct. So that's going to be an issue. I didn't know if we wanted to discuss today. I was going to bring back before the board through Keith as we talk about risk. There's still, I need to speak to Mr. Stan's office with the risk pool, and then I haven't had a chance to bring Keith in on that at all. But that should not hinder us in any way. Between now and the time that the board takes action on that, that time period is not going to stop us from moving forward with the outdoor arena.
Okay.
Yeah, and the county has liability insurance. The question of whether or not participants and users need to come to a facility with insurance is the question, and you have to ask yourself when we have people come and they use our current facilities, let's say the expo hall, we don't require them to show up with insurance to use it. So I don't see.
Some events we do, public
No, I'm
events.
talking about citizens.
Oh, correct,
Yeah.
correct.
Vendors who are renting the facility,
Yes.
yes. But for example, if you have an open swim at a community pool or an open riding at a county arena, I don't see individuals being required to show up with insurance. The county has liability insurance.
Does that liability cover these things? I would think we talked about that once.
Well,
The truck shows and
yeah, we're talking two different issues. One is a vendor who is renting a
Yeah,
facility
vendor,
who's
yes.
assuming liability.
Okay.
The other is a county resident who's there using a public facility.
And my intention was to bring that before the board for you guys to make a decision with good factual information from the risk pool and our legal department.
Okay. So again, though, the single rider, it doesn't cover it this time, and that's something we have to work on, so.
Or at least get answers to that question.
Okay.
Definitive answers from.
Well, I think I know what the answer is to that, but we'll find out later.
Oh, we will be. Yes, we will be.
Before we leave this topic, Mr. Miller, I heard you say a single rider is not covered, and I want to make sure that the comment that I just offered is clear. My understanding is that if someone comes and rents a facility to put on an event, that requires a level and a type of insurance that is costly and difficult to get, and has been a barrier to people using that arena, which has kept it from being rented at any kind of a reasonable rate. If we have a public available open ride type outdoor arena, I do not see individual citizens having to show up with insurance. So when you said it doesn't cover individual citizens, I think our liability insurance does.
Oh, you think
I'll
it
leave
does?
it there.
Okay.
Absolutely.
If for any single person that comes, so 4-HT comes in and rides, no insurance, gets dumped off, claims that stick is what tripped his horse.
Would be
Not too sure
exactly,
they aren't covered under our homeowners on a single
Okay.
issue.
and it would be the same as someone coming in a courthouse and tripping on their staircase.
Okay, I'm perfectly happy with that thought then.
That's my view.
Well, we'll
Probably
get
an
to-
attorney around somewhere. You
And
can't
we
go
will
far
be-
without finding one.
We
but-
can do that timely in matter and get that straightened out. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. We've had good discussion. Last call for any comments or questions from anybody that has any concerns. Anybody in the audience want to address this? Okay. All right, with that, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the vote is unanimous, and thank you for your discussion. And of course, the agreement is approved. Thank you. Karen, are you going to be the one notarizing this document? Okay. That was me that signed it.
Put my stamp on it to make sure.
Any objection to moving on to public comment while we sign?
Not for me.
No problem here.
Okay, we've come to that point in the agenda for public comment. Actually, a minute ahead of schedule, as usual. Anybody in the audience wishing to discuss anything with the board? Comment? Tom? You're good, okay. Morning, Kyle. Okay, we'll give Commissioner Cook a minute to sign there before we move
No,
on.
go ahead, no.
Well, we're into office business. Do you have payrolls and warrants available for Commissioner Miller to motion?
Okay, we have,
Oh, I'm sorry, I meant that because you were still signing.
yeah, that's,
If you want to do them, that's fine.
it doesn't matter. I don't think he's, okay, well, we have two vouchers here. This is, one that's been audited by the auditing officer, and this is for fund expenditures. And the bottom line is $396,736.14. It has been signed by 3 different people, Keith, Matt Beaton, and Macy Stein.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second for fund expenditures, and the amount read into the record. All the signatures appear to be there. Comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those are approved.
Okay, we have another one. This is also audited and certified by the auditing officer. It is, this is for salary clearing payroll, emergency management payroll. The bottom line of both those grand totals of the both payrolls would be $747,170.30. Has been signed by Matt Beaton and Raul Ramirez. Excuse me. Look at that.
Sign it.
And Commissioner Cook, you have a second on this?
Second, I'm sorry.
So we have a motion and a second for approval of payroll emergency management as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those are approved as well. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. There's only 4 items today. We have a motion for approval, or are there any items that would like to be separated out?
I move that we approve consent agendas 1 through 4.
Second?
Okay, there's a motion and second for approval of consent agenda as presented. Keith, you and I had some discussion about some of these yesterday. Do you have any comments or updates on any of these? We had some discussion.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
do you have a particular one you want to discuss first?
Well, I just want to be sure that we're comfortable with item 2, for example, which is with an agreement with the Historical Society. It's a little unusual, I think, for us to make the rotunda or portions of the courthouse available for an activity like this, but I think we all recognize that the Historical Society has a special relationship with the courthouse, participated in historic restoration work, and that because their activity is promoting appreciation of historical features, including the courthouse and the county, that this falls into a rather unusual or perhaps exceptional category.
Yeah, that's correct. The courthouse is not really designed to hold a lot of social type events, but as you described, because of the unique relationship we have with the Historical Society and participation in this being a historic building, we have done a similar event. It was on a smaller scale with them last year, maybe perhaps it was 2 years ago, but we've done this with them in the past. So they're aware of the limitations that we have and the unique requirements we have to make sure this building is safe and they conduct that activity in compliance with our requirements. Jennifer Wagner and Rick Rochwell have worked with them to make sure that security and facility needs are taken care of. And I think we can handle this event in good shape, encourage it. Support that.
In the past, it seems that we have had, it's a little tight. It's just RSVP, only a certain number, but it's been pretty successful from what I remember on these dinners underneath. So,
yeah, it's a good opportunity to promote the Historical Society and their mission in the community and utilize the historic building to do that.
Okay, questions on any other consent items? I have one other question on item 4, and I see that Jennifer's here this morning. Jennifer Wagner, just a quick question. When I read this contract agreement with the Department of Enterprise Services at the state, my impression is that these are professional auditors who are looking at ways to save money and reduce energy consumption. That's the goal. And that this is a third-party contractor with expertise who does this, and that if they propose a cost savings measure and we agree to undertake it, then there's a fee associated. But what wasn't clear to me is whether that fee, I think it was 1.5%, it looked like it was 1.5% of the total cost of the project, not 1.5% of any cost savings. Is that how you read it as well?
That's correct. That's
Okay.
how I read it.
And that there's also a termination for convenience clause, that if for some reason it wasn't working out and we were in the middle of one of those projects we'd agreed to, then we're limited only to the costs that have been occurred up to that point. And I'm going to guess that that's going to be materials and time and labor on the part of that contractor. The one thing that struck me as a possible loophole was, is that time, that labor, based on that same 1.5% of project, or are we going to get a bill for $100 an hour times 700 hours? That to me seems like the risk factor in the equation. Because it's a contract with the state, because I'm sure they've done this in a number of other counties and they care about their reputation, I think that's a reasonable risk to take. But I just wanted to point out that struck me as a place where we could get hit with costs that we might not foresee. So I guess the bottom line to that is let's make really sure we don't recommend or agree to a project that we aren't pretty certain about. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. No other questions from me. Anybody else?
No.
Okay, consent agenda, motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda is approved as well.
There we are.
Okay. Next item is administration office business. Mr. Johnson, over to you.
Yes, thank you. First item for your consideration this evening from the administration office is a addendum to the Metro interlocal agreement. I think we've been briefed on this. Tri-Cities Metro Drug Task Force, primarily funded through a grant that has not been allocated for the current year, leaving them with a significant budget shortfall for the current year. They have gone to the Metro Board, which we are a member of, for the Benton County and the 4 cities in the Tri-City region, Pasco, Kansas, Richland, and West Richland, to ask for additional support from those entities for the parties to the Metro Task Force to make up for that budget shortfall as a result of that grant not being available. Initially, the Metro Board allocated this primarily based on population between Benton and Franklin County. If we were to bear the full cost of the Franklin County portion as outlined in the agenda summary report, the impact would be $24,779 to Franklin County. However, we've had some discussions with the city of Pasco. They have agreed to split the cost in Franklin County between the county and the city of Pasco at an 80%, 20% split. So the city of Pasco is really bearing the financial burden of this commitment to Metro. By doing that, that would allow us to meet our financial commitment to Metro, would allow us to make sure that they don't run out of funds this year, but yet it still reflects that the city of Pasco is really the primary beneficiary and user Metro services. So I know Commissioner Miller has had some discussions with the city manager, City of Pasco. I've got a couple of emails back from him reflecting that commitment for the city. Just because this is moving so quickly, we're asking the board to support the request today, and that'll give us time to work out the specific details and sign another interlocal agreement with the city of Pasco at a future point in time. Commissioner Miller, I suppose you have a lot more to say about this since you've been representing us on the board.
Okay, I did hand out the agreement, which is also on our Franklin County agenda. But so I'm sure everybody's read this same thing. And then what I did is copy the emails that I have received from the Dave Zabel to prove, to make sure we have some documentation that they will pay that 80, and it wasn't just talk. I had talked to Chief Messer and also Dave Zabel a couple times about this. The only issue I haven't cleared up yet is whether they were going to do 80% of Franklin County plus Pasco, and if they do that, our fee would be $5,544. And I think that is at the worst cost. I'm assuming that's what they had wanted to do.
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
From Dave Zabel.
So that it comes to $27,178. $27,722. Pasco share would be $22,178. Franklin County would be $5,554, and this is only good for this year. Then next year we're going to have to come to different discussions, and there's anticipation that we will not get that BRS grant any further. So
your understanding is that they're going to pay 80% of the Franklin County number and pay
Yes.
the Pasco number?
Yeah. So we're going to pay 20% of that Pasco number.
You add those two assessments together, and then
Okay, but I'm hearing him say one thing and do something else.
No, it's the same thing.
Let me read from the email. This is from Dave Zabel. It says, for discussions confirmed, the City of Pasco agrees to pay 80% of the total of the assessment for Franklin County and City of Pasco. So just so we're clear on the record, those two need to be combined, and then it's 80% of that, just so that it doesn't sound like 80% of ours. Yeah.
So the total is $27,722. Our portion would be $5,544.
$5,544.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's just for this year.
And this year is fiscal year July 1 to 30 June 2019.
June 30.
2018.
Yes.
Oh, okay, so it's present year.
Yes.
Okay, because the agreement says its fiscal year runs from July 1 to June 30th.
For the 2017-2018 Metro fiscal year.
Yeah, where is that language?
Right here on number 4. That's the formula. That's for the formula. No, not the agreement with the city. That's for the formula.
Analyzed, this agenda will remain in effect after the conclusion. No longer than June 30th, 2019. See, that's where I got the impression that this ran through June 30th, 19. See what I'm saying?
Yes. If I may clarify.
Sure.
The addendum does use that formula through 2019. So in the next fiscal year, which begins July 1st of this year, we will receive an assessment based on this formula. However, the City of Pasco has committed that while they have not said they've committed, the language was the 820 split proposed relates to the FY 2017-2018 schedule in the agreement for FY 2018-19. If the burn grant remains in limbo, we can discuss separately the split of the county. I will note the split might be similar, but with some time before that period begins, our agency will have to explore a more accurate application.
And that's correct, and that's interesting. The point I was trying to go to is we've got one set of language that talks about or implies that this goes through the end of June of this year.
Correct.
And then we've got language in the amendment that talks about this formula being utilized and not for the city's relationship, right? Because this is with all the parties of Metro. This agreement is not between us and City of Pasco, so I'm not talking about the split with Pasco. I'm talking about the implied commitment going through June 30th of 2019, where it says the formula utilized in this amendment will remain in effect after the conclusion of this year, but no longer than the end of next year. So it would satisfy me if I just saw somewhere in here that said the term of this agreement is bookends. I just want to be clear that we're not signing up for 2 years, because I think we're signing up for 1.
We are.
I'm sure it's in here.
Well, propose, which one? Which contract, with the city or with
The
the?
Metro interlocal agreement is a commitment through 2019, June 30th, 2019.
So it is 2 years.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
But they are
'Cause
really,
I thought I heard Commissioner Miller say it was for 1 year, but maybe I misunderstood.
but the 82 split proposal relates to the 2017-2018 schedule.
Right, that's a separate matter.
See, that's separate. That's separate. So keep that. Yeah, this agreement is 2 years. This one is not. Correct.
Okay, so if the City of Pasco in year 2 should say we, for whatever reason, we're not able to cost share it this year, have we then, by signing this agreement, committed Franklin County for the full amount? I think the answer is yes.
Probably yes.
Okay. Okay, I see some risk, but I don't think it's enough that outweighs the necessity of the Metro program, so I can support. All right, any other questions or comments on the consent? Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the table for approval of the consent agenda as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, those are approved. Good discussion. Thank you, everybody.
No, wait.
I misspoke.
Yeah, you're.
I misspoke.
Yes.
I read right there on item 4, I'm reading the agreement, Franklin County. That was not the consent agenda.
Correct.
If anybody wishes, we can re-vote, but for the record, we'll just clarify that that was addendum 1 to the Metro Interlocal Agreement, Resolution 2018-080. And just so there's no question, I'll reaffirm, I'll ask a second time, all in favor of Resolution 2018-080, please say aye. Aye. Okay, that way there's no confusion. Sorry, my mistake, I misread the line.
So I hate to muddy anything up any further. Was there any motion in second? We didn't do that part. Just kind of read that as that.
Well, I guess my enthusiasm to approve this, I got ahead of it.
Yeah.
So let's just be really clear for the record. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
I will move that we approve addendum number 1 to the Metro Interlocal Agreement, and also with Pasco, City of Pasco. On the
We
payment
haven't
schedule.
seen anything with the city of Pasco
Well,
yet, so.
yeah, well, this right here, this is, we haven't got a contract, but this is the commitment.
Resolution 2018-080.
I'll second
Okay.
that resolution.
Okay.
2018-80 or 080, but not to Pasco.
Okay, that's fine, that's probably complete, so.
Okay,
Um,
so I think, but at this point, I'm not sure I can guarantee you that there is actually a motion and a second for Resolution 2018-080.
I made a motion to you.
No, I know. It was
I made a
intended
motion,
as-
made a second.
as humor.
You did that, 218 right now.
Remind me, no cold medicine before a meeting. Okay, so we're good that we have a motion, we're good that we have a second. All in favor, just to be sure, please say aye. One more time. Aye, thank you. And I'll own that, that was my glitch for reading the wrong line. Okay. So I'm looking at the agreement page.
And let me help you with that. They're going to circulate a
Right.
signature page with an original for all signatures, so I'm not sure it's necessary to sign that one right now.
Okay, so they're gonna,
Right.
so I can just draw a line through the signature page,
This is just copy.
one that's in here?
So that was my understanding that the signature.
Here's the distinction. We either have a board vote that one commissioner can sign and bind the county, or we get one where we all sign. Either way is okay with
Well,
me.
we have a resolution, so as my name on there, I will sign that. And the resolution covers us. The other thing I was going to speak of about the agreement with Pasco in that motion was because if they should fail, to me, we would have a way out, because our motion says we will support this metro. So that's why I did that, but I don't want to get too fluffy. I don't think it really matters. On this deal here, though, they will send that, and we can either make a motion then, or I can just sign it and send it back. That's probably better than wait.
So do we know, are they sending us a new signature
They're
page?
supposed to be sending us a new signature page with all of the originals on one page. So the attorneys would prefer that, so.
Yeah, well, that's exactly the point I'm getting to, is what the attorneys are saying. So, you can go ahead and sign the resolution today, and for the sake of the record, it's clear that the board hasn't authorized any individual commissioner to sign the agreement and bind the county. If they choose not to send us a page with all signatures, then we'll simply take a vote to authorize.
Okay, so we do have one here for the page for me to sign. Right now, it says a sticker there. Do you not want to do that?
No, you don't need to sign that today.
Okay, because there's two of them stamped here. And they look like official copies, but they're not from Metro, those copies. They're just copies off the internet or from what they sent you.
The information that I received was that they will facilitate getting the appropriate signatures next week, so.
Okay,
we just
yeah,
need to approve
yep,
it
yep, okay.
right now, and then the signature page will come around. Okay, thank you. Next item is just mostly informational for you. I don't believe you need to take formal action on it. The county risk manager, working with the risk pool, has suggested that we provide this volunteer service agreement. So if we ever use volunteers in county functions, and frankly, I'm not aware where we use volunteers on any regular basis, but I'll ask them to provide a signature that they understand that they are not an employee of the county, and that they will, that the county does provide workers' compensation coverage, and it's an assumption of the risk that they take on as an individual when they're serving in volunteer capacity. We'd just like to make this available to department heads and elected officials, and that they should ever use volunteers. It's a recommendation of the risk pool. If the board wishes to take formal action on it, you can, but I don't think it's necessary. It's more of an internal policy, so I just want you to be aware of it.
Looks reasonable to me. If our civil attorneys have looked at it and they're good with the language, it seems like a smart thing to do.
Take care of this should be sent out to all the departments.
Yeah, we're going to put it on our website so that the department has access to it. And then we have with all the departments.
Commissioner Cook, would you send me back that Metro package for a minute, please? I just thought of something else I wanted to look at on there. Just take a moment. Thank you.
While you're doing that, briefly, speaking of the risk pool, I was at an executive director meeting last Friday at CTAC with the risk pool, and we'll be going out pretty soon. The chair and vice chair and the brokers will be going back to New York to talk to the proposed insurance companies, and basically what we're hearing right now is today's high prices are tomorrow's bargains. So don't know what that means yet, but they're talking could be up to 10%.
And Commissioner, what kinds of policies would be affected?
Our liability,
Right. I just wanted to,
basically, but they're the whole gambit, the cyber and EP, personal property,
yeah.
it's all up in the air.
There's just people who may not be familiar with the term risk pool. I didn't want them to be
No.
confused about health insurance.
No, it's not health insurance, it's personal property, liability, and cyber.
Right.
But that's more to come, unfortunately. It's just that it's really trying to push hard, and actually Jennifer is doing a stellar job. That Berkeley Insurance has come out with what they call a 360 trainings, and Jennifer's really, as you have seen, has done a stellar job in getting it out to everybody.
That's Jen Johnson.
Jen Johnson.
From the prosecutor's office.
Yeah, and she's our risk manager. So,
Right.
Of the counties that are actually taking part in it and training from it, we are so much ahead of anybody else with the participants that it's embarrassing to the other counties. They were really shocked. So.
Well, that's good. That's what our risk manager should be doing for us. I'm glad to see that's working.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Johnson, did you have any other office business today?
No other office business, but I do have a request for executive session.
Okay. Do you anticipate the board needing to take any action following that executive session?
No.
Okay, so in the interest of not tying up a lot of people, I think I'd prefer, with the board's concurrence, that we finish out the regular agenda and then go to our executive session. People are certainly willing or able to wait and come in afterward, welcome to, but I don't want to keep people tied up needlessly. So before we go to the executive session, the only other business here would be comments from the board. I've got a few of the general business nature. What about Commissioner Cook, Commissioner Miller, anything? You've just advised us on risk pool, anything else?
I will be out leaving tomorrow night. I need to go back for a funeral, won't be back. I will not be here next Tuesday. But I fly into Spokane next Tuesday night, and I'll go directly to Leavenworth for the Risk Pool Spring Conference for Wednesday, Thursday. So I'll not be back in the office till the 30th.
Okay. 30th. Okay. Commissioner Miller, are you going to be here next Tuesday?
Yeah, what's the date? I'm sure.
27th?
Yeah, I'm not going to work.
Okay. I expect to be here as well, so we will have a quorum. All right. Commissioner Cook, anything else?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Miller, anything?
I just stated the last meeting that I just got back with the NACO annual legislation at Washington, D.C., and I was going to give a report. What I've done is formed everything on there, my notes and everything on a piece of paper here. Oh, well, it's a couple pieces of paper. But just of the, and I'll just highlight some of the things that we have talked about during there. It was busy the whole time. I mean, the schedule was full. But a lot of it had to do with the rural action committees meeting in the Federal Triangle and meeting with the Congress people as they signed a bill to reauthorize PILT. And this PILT is for SRS, which is schools, finance for the schools, and it is for forest. So it really has nothing to do with our energy PILT. But there was a credit group there, around there. But prior to that, I had gone on, it was called the RAC Day, Rural Action Committee, had gone down and had visited with Department of Agriculture. With the USDA has a Rural Development Innovation Center. The center has is part of the $20 billion that is asserted by President Trump for infrastructure, and it had quite a bit of story there on where they can get money, what you can do with money on building infrastructures. And one of the thoughts that crossed me in Connell was They need an ambulance shelter. They go off the ground, and when I spoke to them, and they right away said, that's the type of thing we do. So I'm waiting to hear from those guys, and I do have their address. I can call them back. And the last day, and I flew out that last day on Thursday, but that day we went to with the Power Association's attorneys, and we went to the State Department and spoke to them on the Columbia River Treaty. And the State Department had, and Jill Smill is the CRT, the Columbia River Treaty negotiator, and she had stated that since this the tariffs have gone on, that Canada has not spoke to us, and this was like a week prior to when I was there, and they have not been talking to them. However, it sounds like Canada and Mexico were going to still do that part, so I think it's going to get that going. But that was one of the issues they had at this point here. We're on the same page with the power line, the Columbia Treaty Caucus, and that's what I'm on. And that's why we followed them around and went, and they could line us up with these people. Then after that, we went to, and we met with a few of them and talked about different things. But then we went to the Department of Interior. The Department of Interior made it clear they were told not to do anything with this treaty. They had nothing to do with it. And basically it's a benefit for us because that's the Department of Fish and Wildlife and others that would probably could put some influence on that agreement. So with that, it was a lot longer. It was all day long. But prior to that, again, there was Congress visits, and I got the schedule here, everyone we visit. And actually I went with Jerome Delvin, Commissioner from Benton County, and we actually went on our own and was able to speak in the morning before the group did to Representative Dan Newhouse and also Kathy McRogers, Representative Kathy Morris Rogers from the Spokane area up there in that district. And had some good discussion on the bill they have for the delay of the dams, which the BIOP in 2014 that we had a new judge that said they were going to put a new BIOP and it's going to tear down the dams. Well, this actually, their bill is to delay this till 2022 to see how this BIOP works. They want to put more, the judge wants to put more water over the spill of the dam, but that we feel creates, when I say we, the caucus, our group, feel it creates more salmon going over. It's actually more deadly. So we like it the way it is, where we transport them around, and facts show that it is actually better. So that was a discussion there on this as their bill. They're having a problem with the senators, of course, Murray and also Cantwell. And Senator Cantwell's elections this year, so she's quiet on it. Senator Murray says she will not do this because it has something to do with legislation and legal facts and all this, and we felt that just wasn't really a very good reason. She was just kind of backing Senator Cantwell at the time, just had no interest in this at all. So this is just some of the stuff we did. There was many meetings to attend. There was, it was packed. I swear I didn't have a minute to myself on those 5 days that I was there. Flew in with that bad weather when everything was shut down. My plane was canceled the next night, but I flew in anyway that night late. And it was still pretty rough, but I attended all the meetings, and like I said, I do have packets on that. So that's my report in Washington, D.C.
So the bill to delay action on the dams and to accept the BIOP that's already in place.
Yes.
You referred to transporting fish versus more spill. Just want to get a little clarification.
So the bill is HR 3044. 3044. You probably familiar with it.
Yeah, but usually when you're transporting fish, that protects the fish and that enables spill. And so I guess I can follow up on that.
You are exactly right, and that's why we don't want more water spill, and that's what the new judge has asked for. For the new BIOP, more water spill, which is damaging the salmon, and to talk about researching tearing down those dams, Little Goose and a few of those on the Snake River, and that's why we're trying to pass this one.
I was just trying to correlate it to a few years ago when the courts didn't allow them to transport fish in juvenile salmon die-off was greater, and so something doesn't add up there, but I'm sure I'll figure it out. Had a couple of interesting meetings recently. Attended the meeting of the Pasco Planning Commission last week on a proposed short-term homeless shelter in central West Pasco. There were a number of residents there who expressed concern. I spoke on the record there, both as a citizen and wearing my county commissioner hat. I was pretty careful to delineate the two, and I offered a individual opinion as one commissioner, not on behalf of the board, that I thought that CAC did great work, and that I think that these kinds of programs are important and valuable. But in this particular case, I think that the location that they chose was not suitable. And I know that there are a number of people looking at this issue, and I understand that CAC is evaluating if there are other options. And so I just want to say on the record that I appreciate the fact that they heard the concerns of the citizens, and that they're evaluating that. That shows me that CAC is a good partner with the county, and I look forward to them making a decision that respects the concerns of that particular neighborhood. Secondly, attended a meeting last night at an Allen Brothers property, which locally is known as Sagemore Farms, off of Sagemore Road, just up from where Commissioner Miller used to live. There's a proposal there for a seasonal temporary foreign/migrant worker camp. It is a tent camp. It's proposed to be 10 tents that provide occupancy for 6 people each. It was about a 2-hour meeting. Looked at the site, looked at the approaches on and off the county road, went through about a 2.5-page document that Allen Brothers has for the agreement they have with their workers for their behaviors and conduct on the site. These are workers from Mexico. They're all part of the H-2A program. And under the H-2A program, the employer is required to provide housing for them. In the past, they provided housing in Pasco and other places. This has a benefit of immediacy on the job site. There isn't the travel to and from, so there's some benefit there, but there's also concern on the part of the neighboring residential properties. There were probably a dozen residents there expressing their concerns about the location, and so that'll be for the Allen Brothers, Sagemore Farms, and the residents to work out something that's mutually acceptable. But there's already a well in place. They're getting ready to put in concrete pads for the tent bases. This is all permitted by the State Department of Health. Some years ago, it was put in place that the county's only involvement is to approve building heights, building setbacks, and approaches on and off a county road. So it's not unlike the development we saw up on Ringgold Road that the Farm Bureau supported a few years ago. I would remind everybody that we are a right to farm county, and my purpose in being there was to try and not so much mediate, but foster communication between both sides and see if we could find a mutually agreeable solution. Most importantly, probably, is that these are specifically people brought in who have expertise in harvesting cherries, and it is a 30-day window, and it's coming up here fairly quickly, probably in May. So the camp would be built, populated, and then unpopulated and taken down all within the span of probably about 40 days. So it's not a year-round presence. I think the biggest challenge, Craig is here, the biggest challenge is going to be the approach on and off of Sagemore. It's a steep downhill winding. I'm not really frankly sure how an approach was approved for the Sagemore driveway that exists now, but I would just say for the record that I would ask you to look at that and apply what are the acknowledged, approved standards for safety, and not allow any of these other important but tangential factors to weigh into it. We just need to do what the code and highway safety dictates, and that way we're being fair to all parties and not leaning one way or the other. So, and I know you'll do that anyway, but I wanted to have that on the record. And I think that's all I have for today. Thanks.
One question. Did I understand that the camp was for 16 total people, is that correct?
The camp for this year, it could be enlarged in the future, is 10 tents, 6 people each, no one under the legal working age of 14 allowed, no alcohol, no firearms, 11 p.m. curfew, on-site manager, and gender segregated housing, except in the case of families. They might put families together in a similar tent. Lots of information, good meeting. Allen Brothers had their HR director from up in the valley was there, as well as their 2 or 3 of their local employees who are in various management positions. And it's another one of those cases where we're trying to blend support functions for the ag community without impacting local communities. And it's a pretty rural area there to start with, but there are houses directly across the street. There are bus stops involved. There's just a number of things that I think weigh into the safety equation on that highway that people like you who have the expertise will need to weigh that out, give a recommendation as to whether or not there's a safe way. And as for traffic counts, I can't tell you what the numbers will be. In the past, they've had people staying at Pasco and driving up. So if this reduces that, I suppose you could count that as a reduction in traffic. But they're also expanding their farm operation, it appears, and so that might drive an increase in traffic from somewhere else. And they have blocks of chariots elsewhere where the workers in that tent camp might leave that site and go work at another block. So I think you've got your homework cut out for you to figure out just how many people are coming and going. So anyway, I know you'll follow the rules and do what's safe, and that's what I'm looking for. So, okay, any other comments, questions from anybody? Keith, before we go into executive session? Okay, if you would please read for the record what it is you need.
Yes, I'm requesting executive session under RCW 42.30.140, paragraph 4, contract negotiations, up to 15 minutes, and reserve the right to come out early. Do not expect action to be taken afterwards. With request that Carly may be allowed to participate.
Okay.
And I want to say.
And Sheriff Raymond,
Wants to stay.
I would ask that he be allowed to participate.
Perfect. Okay, that's up to 15 minutes. It's contract negotiations. It's 10:02, so we'll start at 10:03. Before we slip off into executive session, I want to acknowledge that Kyle and his team are here. I'm sorry, I don't recall your name.
Sheila Berry.
Sheila, okay. Sorry. Some days I have trouble with my own name. Kyle and Sheila, thank you for being here. I know your interest was that CAC issue, and I think we're on a good path, and I just appreciate your help, and feel free to convey to CAC how much we appreciate what they do. Okay, thanks much. Okay, so executive session starting as soon as we're able to clear the room. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to turn myself into HR. Okay, we have completed our executive session. Of course, no action taken, and doesn't appear that there's any action required following that executive session. And we have, so far as I know, exhausted our agenda for today.
Commissioner Chair, can I have a moment just to speak with the Commissioner for a minute
Sure,
on that item of business?
absolutely.
Last year, we started this
I'm happy to do that. It's just I don't have that instruction. But if that's what we want to do, that works for me.
Because I did this yesterday, and I was chatting and asked her what happened.
Why don't we do this then? Why don't we have them go ahead and sign it? And then if Heather, she's the one directing traffic on this, if she decides that she needs to do her signature page, we'll just have to sign it, we'll destroy this. So, does that make sense? All right. Okay. We'll have to sign that. So the clerk reminded me that may be the signature. We'll get shot around at the end.
Okay, so I want to revisit for a minute, at Mr. Johnson's request, the package on the Metro Interlocal Agreement. The signature page for the resolution by the county was proper, and it had all three commissioners, and so that resolution is approved. The request is to have Commissioner Miller as our representative to the Metro Drug Task Force sign the agreement, the Metro Interlocal Agreement on behalf of the county, which I don't have any issue with that, but to do that, I want to run a vote by the board just so that we're clean and legal. So I would propose that the board authorize Commissioner Miller to sign addendum number 1 to the Metro Interlocal Agreement in support of the resolution that the full board approved today, and that we do this as an administrative step to complete this contract rather than bring back a new signature page for all three commissioners to sign. Is there a second to that motion?
There is.
Okay, so we have a motion and second to have Commissioner Miller sign the document as read into the record. Last call for comments. Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now Commissioner Miller can sign representing the board, and that'll make that legal. Does that do what you need? Okay, perfect, perfect. Okay, last call for any other business before we adjourn. We're adjourned.
Hey, on a side note with your MOU,